Hello all and welcome into round 11 here in WHF. You're joined by me, your host for this evening, WHF are out as we're here in the penultimate round of the season as we've headed to Sakir, Bahrain, where we're going to see the drivers fight out for some championship positions. We've already got the championship decided last time out. NMX James sealed the title in Texas, and with 2 rounds to go now, it's just about having fun. Last time out, Few picked up his first win in WHF, won in dominant fashion in Kota. And can he continue winning ways here? Or will we have a new winner on board here in these in this race? 19 drivers out there at the moment. I'm going to try and get the standings up for you very quickly. These are the wrong standings. So let me swap them to the right ones. Where we do have your NMX James as champion. Won the title by 69 points currently. He leads Raheem. And with 2 rounds to go, unfortunately, Raheem does not have enough time left to catch in the championship. But ideally what you would like is if Raheem could pick up a win this race, or even Ash or Billy and Penguin. They've all been there or thereabouts, but none of them yet to pick up a win in this season, despite all being in the top 4. But we're going to head back on board LTJ Northey as he heads down into turn 1 here in Bahrain. But welcome in one and all. Hope you're doing well on this Friday evening. We're all home from work or school, and we're all cuddled up by the fire, except for the drivers who have got a fire under their seat as they make their way around the 15 turns here in Bahrain. Really tricky circuit. D Summer says, don't forget your transitions. Let me, you know what, I actually have forgot my transitions, to be honest with you, because I forgot. I'm going to need to set them up entirely. But you know what, we'll find them. We'll find them very quickly. What is the right one? This one. How do I show this off? There we are. We've got the right transitions back again. Watch this. Boom! And it isn't even timed correctly, so it looks awful, but there is the transition. I'll work on it a bit later till we get to the transition, but here we are. Northey, the first driver to set a lap here with a 29.3, and next it's Sci-Fi Mega Hype, and then we have a Mercedes, I believe, of Ellis with a 31.1, and Ansu with a 29.6. Meanwhile, Few won last time out in Kota. We've got Creamy Flaps up ahead of him, his teammate, about to finish a lap, but may have invalidated, which is why he didn't improve. MB with a 28.6. Next across the line is Few, up to the line at 28.343. And he's had Racer with a 28.3. And we've already got some big gaps here. Billion in P4 with a 28.862. Meanwhile, we've got Ashton Army about to start a lap. Someone had spun there. Not quite sure who that was. It was Ansu somehow spun and was facing the wrong way, completely down the straight. I don't know how it spun there. That's an awkward place to spin. We also had the Mercedes of Ash into P7. And not a problem, Alfie. Welcome into the stream. Hope you're doing well. Not a problem. We are here in Tier 3 for round 11 here in WHF. Welcome into the stream. Hope you're doing well on this Friday evening, or Friday afternoon, or Saturday morning, wherever you are. In Australia, it could be Saturday morning. We have one driver from Australia who races Tier 1. Meanwhile, let's see who's actually on a lap here.
No heroics into Sandoval, please. We're in amongst the pack.
And thank you for the 1 bit, Zamba. We are now rich, and we can now, WHF RO can now retire and just worry about commentary all week as Raheem. On board we go as he heads through turn 11. And Raheem, who is P2 in the championship, has unfortunately had a rather rough second half of the season. It's been a while since we've seen the McLaren driver back up on the podium. And hopefully Raheem can find his pace that we've seen from earlier in the season as he charges down to the final corner. And the McLaren driver now up to the line, DRS enabled, but it actually won't be a quick lap, so maybe he's going for an additional run because it's a 32.9 and we'd expect better from Raheem. Meanwhile, Dobo, who won the opening round of the season here in Tier 3, was unable to keep up his form. And Dobo, where can he go in this session? Currently P16, his teammate in P11. Can he challenge? We will see. As D Summers says that I already retired, and thank you for that, D Summers. I'm going to go cry after the race. But we'll follow Dobo as he heads out of turn 3, or turn 11, apologies. As he's about to complete his first lap here as he exits Sector 2 with a purple middle sector, which who knows if that's genuine. The game lies quite consistently. Got there eventually as Dobo now rounding the final corner. And what can he put on the board? It is a 28.3 to beat, and it's a 29.4 that Dobo has on his run, as Nuki in the Alpine is the next driver around. But DZ Racer currently on pole and hoping to see some a good result from DZ Racer. Funnily enough, I don't even know if DZ Racer, I think he might have one win in Tier 3, but he also has a win in Tier 2. Despite not really being in with a sniff for the championship, DZ Racer still, his pace I'd call lightning in a bottle. And it's just kind of matters whether or not DZ Racer can keep his pace within the bottle, or will it spill out of the bottle. And currently, with a 28.3, it is the lap time to beat. Few is just 400ths back, as Nuki now rounding the final corner with DRS engaged up to the line, and it will be a 30.2. And I don't know if anyone else is on a lap, maybe Dobo or Raheem, but I think they might be coming in, recharging. So I think this is the perfect time. We're gonna edit the transition on the fly, and this is why I get paid the big bucks here at WHF, is because I'm so prepared, like you wouldn't even know. So let's have a look. Does that look right? It does look right. Look at that transition point right there. Couldn't even, it's so crystal smooth. Look at this. Boom. Standings again. You don't even see it coming. Boom. Race view. Oh, whatever they're paying me, it's not enough. As NMX James next driver around on a lap. We've also got MB on a lap going a little bit deep through turn 8. It is 8, yeah. And round turn 10. One of the trickiest corners on the calendar. So easy to lock up the inside left. But MB seems to have navigated it well, as in the background there, Few also looking to improve his lap time as well. Few, who picked up his first win last time out, looking for an improvement here as Ashton retires in the pit lane. He's a fan of just doing one run in qualifying and then gives up. Not quite sure why, but hey ho. As MB comes in, not improving. Few has invalidated his lap, so he'll not be improving. We got NMX James, 3/10 to the good, and the Tier 3 champion already has the championship under his belt, but maybe just 2 more races for pride. Can James secure the first pole in his Tier 3 career? No, he can't. Yet to get a single pole. Yet to get a single pole is NMX James this season, and yet he's already champion. Just race consistency is so strong for the Ferrari driver. And don't mind me, now I'm trying to get the app working. See, the reason why I'm getting paid the big bucks is because of how prepared I am. Like, it is so good. Ah, here we are. I was trying to work out what the issue was, and I forgot we don't have SimHub up. Zanuki Lad has improved to P10. Page on an in-route lap. Got Sci-Fi invalid. We've got Ash up to P5. As DZ Racer out on a lap now as he heads through Sector 1. And let me just close the app again and reopen it. See if that helps. As DZ Racer now heading through the middle sector down turn 10 as the app is opened up again and pauses my game. As exits turn 10 pretty smoothly. And what kind of delta will we see on the V-Carb's time as he's about to head through turn 11? As Few does improve to a 28.042. Does Few have 3/10 in hand to get ahead of the Aston Martin driver? And he's half a second to the good is DZ Racer, looking strong into the 27s. He just needs to keep it valid through the final corner. And as we head through turn 14 and 15, and DRS now enabled to the line, and it's a 27.663.
No heroics into Sandoval, please. We're in amongst the pack.
And thank you for this 67 bits, Zampa. If anyone else wants to say it in the chat, you can, but I'm not saying it. I'm too old for this. As Ansu now with DRS. Where can Ansu go in the Red Bull? Up to P7. 6/10 improvement for the Red Bull.
Mission failed. We'll get him next time.
As RJ also out there on a run. And what kind of lap times is RJ going to do in the Ferrari? Currently half a second behind Sci-Fi. But we'll see, can he improve? Down at the back we have the LTJ crowd. We have RJ, Ellis and Page. Meanwhile, Northie is showing them absolute levels. And a reminder, whoever finishes highest in this race gets a cup of tea. But the other three have to work as a team to make said cup of tea. As RJ does improve by 2/10. As Bean says he's having brake issues. Can't seem to get it right. Is this RJ, Ollie Bean? Zampa says there's only 3 safety cars. But 3 minutes to go left in the session. It looks like DZ Racer might have a handle on pole position here. Unless Few or someone else can get anywhere near here. But we'll go on board with Creamy Flaps in the Aston Martin. He's had a couple of quick qualifyings last couple of races, but hasn't been able to really convert on some strong performances here. As Ollie, tell Ledgeman to use third gear more, because that's always Ledgeman's issues. Creamy Flaps through turn 8 makes a little error, trying to get on traction, and there's certain tracks you just need to be in third gear for. especially if you struggle on traction. The really quick guys can use the lower gears, but sometimes you just got to be in third to maintain traction, because you'll be quicker by not spinning. And you got to take that advice from the man who spins the most here in WHF. As Creamy Flaps now rounding the final corner.
No heroics into Sandoval, please. We're in amongst the pack.
Thank you for the 10 bits, Zampas. Sci-Fi Mega Hype improves to P5. Creamy Flaps up to P9. But a brilliant lap there from the Alpine of Sci-Fi Mega Hype. He's just 200ths away from MB there, as Raheem I wouldn't say arrow spin, it's more like arrow plane or something. It's like it's got to have a different name to it. It's a different ring to it. Anyway, Raheem now 3/10 of the good as he exits the final corner. And can the driver who's P2 in the standings improve here in qualifying? He's had a couple rough qualifyings in a row, and he does improve ahead of Creamy Flaps just by 2/10. But again, down in P9, it's not where he wants to be. But still, I'm sure he'll take it. Meanwhile, do we have Billion on a lap? He's heading through the middle sector. 50 seconds left in the session. As can Billion improve here down in P7? But if he improves by around 3/10, he gets ahead of James, but then he needs another 8 to get ahead of Few. So he almost has 3 in the bag. It's 0.282 for Billion Penguin, as there's 17 seconds left in the session. Billion's final run is here. The Red Bull behind of Ansu might be starting a lap, and hopefully Ansu can make the line, as Billion going to cross the line and does get up to P4, as Ansu just about starts a lap right before the checkered flag. Lovely timing from Ansu there, just to start his lap in time. Meanwhile, Nuki a 10th to the good, as hopefully we can get this driver in. As he has joined. Maybe he can grab a car in time. We'll see. Who else is on a lap here? Dobo on a lap, but who's close to finishing lap? Raheem into the box. We do have MB up to the line. He's a 10th to the good. Can he get P3 here? Yes, he does. 2/10 improvement for MB. NMX James now improving by 2/10. Can snatch the P3 again. As he goes to P3 again. 2.5 improvement there. DZ Racer into the box. And no improvement for our current pole sitter. Ash now rounding the final corner with a 28.556, as Billion not improving. Ansu improving very slightly, but needs a big improvement if he wants to get a Sci-Fi Mega Hype. Northy not improving, so Ansu will go on board with the Red Bull to see can he improve in this session. And Ansu does improve by 2/10, but I don't believe improved position. But there you have it. DZ Racer on pole again here. And a dominant qualifying there from DZ Racer. Almost 4/10 ahead of Few. As Few's 2/10 ahead of NMX James, followed by MB, Ash, Billion, Sci-Fi Mega Hype, Ansu and Dobo. Then it's Raheem, Creamy Flaps, Northy, Nuki Land, Ashton Army, RJ Ellis. Who else is there? Let us see. It is Alice Page, Northy, Zampa, and then we might have what's his name? Gimme a sec. Gimme a sec. I don't know if it's not, like, that is what his name is. That is what his name is. Regardless of what he wanted, that is what his name is. But DZ Racer, another pole here. Next it's Few, followed by James. But we'll tell the drivers when to ready up. Hopefully there's no early readies, otherwise I'm going to kick my TV over or something, I don't know. But welcome into round 11 here in Tier 3 in Bahrain. If you haven't followed yet, please do. We're here for 29 laps here in Bahrain. And make sure to get your predictions in the chat. Who do you think's going to win this one? DZ Racer on pole, almost by 4/10 ahead of Few. Although Few picked up his first win last time out in Coda, so a lot could still happen here. NMX James, our championship winner here, with 2 rounds to go, is in P3, so a lot to play for. A lot could happen here. All I know is that there's going to be absolute carnage here in Bahrain. Down into turn 1. Hopefully everyone gets the braking right. And yes, I'm talking about you, Ledge Man. I know you're having brake issues, but just brake earlier. Please. If you're having brake issues, don't make it other people's problem. Thank you very much. That is my TED Talk. Anywho, for those of you who haven't yet, get your follows in. We're almost at 1,000 followers here on Twitch. Also, for those of you who haven't heard, the sign-up deadline for WHF Season 7 is February the 22nd. And for those of you who haven't yet, you can join the Discord by the link in our bio. And if you want to sign up, we have currently enough drivers for 2 tiers, but we would like a 3rd tier like we've had this season in Season 7. Although we've got just about 3 weeks until sign-ups close, so make sure to get into the Discord and sign up. As we've still got 2 tiers championships yet to be decided. Tier 1 and Tier 2 yet to be decided. Meanwhile, James was the first driver to win the championship here in Tier 3. The first Tier 3 champion in WHF history. Back in the day, in SSR days, we had the likes of Dub Z picking up the Tier 3 championship. But here in WHF, NMX James is the first Tier 3 champion. Hopefully, next season we can crown another Tier 3 champion, but we're going to need more sign-ups in order for that to happen. So for those of you listening, if you haven't signed up yet, please do. Because we would love another Tier 3 next season. Before next game, there's going to be a game update for essentially what is F126. But anyway, we will have the 5 red lights on very shortly for 29 laps around the Sakir circuit here in Bahrain. And we will have the 5 red lights on here in Bahrain as DZ Racer will get us underway after a very short hold of the lights, and DZ Racer gets a good start as Few down into turn 1, comfortably ahead as we head through turn 1. A lot of, oh my lord, what happened there? A lot of lagging, a lot of cars in the background. Zampa's spun as a lot of ghosting and damage in the background as Dobo trying to work his way through on Northy as almost 3 wide into turn 4 we go. Northy keeps it ahead as there's absolute carnage throughout the whole track here. Raheem ahead of Sci-Fi. Ash now on the rear of James as DZ Racers had a beautiful start here. MB on the rear of Ash, going to try and put some pressure on it. Ansu leaves the track there. Or that might have been Dobo as he battles with Billy and Penguin as we get the tyre graphic up. A lot of battles here throughout the field. And Billy and through on Dobo Ellis in P13 in behind, trying to stay with his Gimme a Sack in the wars with Ashton Army, and Ashton Army dropping down the order as there's a safety car here in lap 1. What has happened? Billy and Penguin into the wall. No DNS here, but Billion P3 in the championship is down and around. Possible contact with Dobo, who he was battling with earlier. And if it lets us switch to the onboard of Billion's car, which it's not doing because EA sucks. Dear Lord, let us see what's happened, Billy, and no front nose. Why would it not let us see that earlier? I do not know, but safety car out as Ledgeman's hit Northey under safety car and has damage on the Mercedes. What an absolute buffoon. Has hit his own father in the rear. Into the pit lane he goes. 10-second penalty as Gimme a Sec illegally overtakes RJ into the box. Love to see it. Also with damage as well. Absolute scenes. But safety car here on lap 1. Billion unfortunately bringing it out and will be into the box to fix this front wing as RJ's gone for inters. And RJ has retired from the session as a result of his own stupidity. Anyway, up at the front. Few on hards along with NMX James, along with Dobo. Page and Zamp have swapped to the hards. Gimme a Sec on the soft tyres.
I am stupid.
And DZ Racer will get us restarted. I'm hoping DZ Racer, in his mind at least, is thinking about managing these mediums under the safety car, because if he can pull a gap to Few early, it'll be very beneficial. But if Few can hold on these hard tyres, it'll definitely help him on his strategy. Will the drivers be one stopping or two stopping? We will see. If it were me, I would say the one stop is the quicker, but I'm not 100% positive. But we will keep an eye on how everyone's doing here, as Ellis is so far behind the pack and is weaving instead of catching up, which is very strange. Very weird. Anywho, I believe everyone's got their front wings changed. But a bit of a chaotic start there. Billion did have big damage on lap 1. RJ just swapped to the inters, so decided, actually, you know what? I'm going to go to bed instead, you know. I'm going to take a nap here. Good night. As Ferrari, with another Ferrari-esque performance in the pit box. But will we have the safety car restart in this lap? I hope so, because there's no more reason for the safety car to be out. The damage is clear. Everyone's caught up. Contact with Billion and I believe Dobo, not entirely sure, on lap 1. Meanwhile, RJ boxed onto the inters and retired in the pit lane because Ferrari, I guess. Meanwhile, DZ Racer is going to get us restarted under this on lap 4. And can DZ Racer get a decent restart here? We will wait and see.
Hammond! You moron!
And there's damage in the background. Someone's lost a front wing. Who was that? Not quite sure. It was... I don't know. Don't know who it was. Anyway, down into turn 1. Few on the inside already of DZ Racer, who's not had a terrific restart. And Few straight ahead of DZ Racer, who goes for the switchback on the Aston Martin driver, and the Aston keeps it ahead, but DZ Racer going to try and get back through again on the Aston Martin driver as we head up to turn 4. Can he pull out of the toe and get close to the Aston? No, he's not close enough, and NMX James in behind, filtering in behind as Gimme a Sec gets through on Page, as Ansu on the rear of Nuki. Ansu with a big wobble on the rear, as Thori on the rear of Dobo as well, as Thori tries to make his way through. Also Ash putting some pressure on the Ferrari here up at the front. And can Ash go for a move into turn 10? Is he going to look for the Alonso move? Oh, late on the brakes, but sniffing the rear of the Ferrari. And can Ash put some pressure on the Ferrari driver to try and get ahead? He's got to take advantage of the mediums while he has them, but doesn't appear to be doing so, as we go through the field. Billion on the inside of Ellis. Side by side they go through turn 11. Billion up the hill, trying to work his way through on Ellis, and Ellis defending here on the Haas driver. As Page in the foreground leaves the track. Ellis going to try and get through, and Page, as Page tries to defend here. And Ellis now on the rear. Give me a second. Page has dive bomb both of them. What a dive bomb from Page. Billion with a switchback. And Ellis, oh my god, we're almost 5 wide. Oh, what is happening, lads? Ellis has worked out through. Page off in the grass. What has happened, Page? Page off in the grass there, after contact with someone. Gimme a Sec side by side with Ellis here. And Ellis back through again on Gimme a Sec, who has damage. As a lot of battles here. And Ellis keeping it ahead as Ansu's around. What's happened, Ansu? Ghosted for Ansu. Maybe some contact with someone there. Maybe with a Sci-Fi or one of the Alpines. But a little bit of chaos here under the safety car restart. Billion ahead of Gimme a Sec. Gimme a Sec with Ashton in the background. Ashton getting through on Gimme a Sec. As Ansu now side by side with Thori. And Thori leaves the track there. As Dobo now on the rear of Ansu, going to try and get through on his teammate. As Ansu going to pull back ahead. Thori losing out as well to the Red Bulls. As Creamy Flaps are on the outside of Thori as well, trying to find a way through. Cars absolutely everywhere here. Side by side we go through turn 12. Both Red Bulls battling here with a V-Carb in behind. And oh my god, what are we doing, gents? Creamy Flaps is saying to them 3 wide up ahead. He's going to try and get through on Dobo. And he's going to try and thread the needle on Thori. Creamy Flaps through. Oh my lord, Thori dropping down to B13. It's going to be DRS down the main straight here. Creamy Flaps going to try and get through, and Ansu. Ansu's got no DRS open. Creamy Flaps through. Dobo. Thori, as we're 4 wide down the main straight. Who's where? Round the outside goes Creamy Flaps. What a move that was. Ansu through on Thori, as Dobo keeping ahead as well. Still side by side we go, Ansu and Thori. Ansu losing out to Zampa now. Zampa on the inside is going to brush the rear, and Zampa loses the rear after contact with Ansu there. Absolute cinema here on lap 6. The battling has been ferocious. Give me a sec into the box to fix his front wing. DZ Racer now can he get back ahead of Few as he loses the rear momentarily. Under traction, doesn't want to overcook the rears because he can spin. Can't happen as DZ Racer on the rear of Few now. As Ashton, the first driver to pick up a 3-second time penalty in behind LTJ Ellis. As who else is out there battling? MB not too far behind Ash. We've barely looked at the battle for the lead here because there's been such action at the back and in the midfield. And the leaders have just checked out here. Raheem having his best race in quite some time up in P6 at the back of this DRS train. Just going to try and keep his pace steady in this train. And we're not seeing much action in terms of swapping between these drivers. Meanwhile, in the background, a lot of action here. As many a driver swapping. Meanwhile, DZ Racer back. On the rear has NMX James on the rear of DZ Racer. We've got Zampa through and Ansu down into turn 1 as Ansu looks for the switchback, but leaves the track while doing so. Billion now on the rear of Ansu's. Ansu's made a mistake exiting turn 3, and Billion gets round the outside of the Red Bull. And Thory now on the inside of Dubo. And I don't know how he survived there. It looked like Dubo was about to chop across him, but Thory backs out while battling here as Ashton gets through on Ellis, and Ellis has dropped down the order down to P17. Meanwhile, James on the rear of DZ Racer. And has Ash lost DRS range from the top 3 here? Or are these mediums starting to fail now here on lap 7? And we could see drivers in this early if they're doing the 2-stop. But if they're doing a 1-stop, then I guess we will see. They'll be going to lap 12 onwards. But will the likes of Ash or MB potentially come in? As Ash just going to try and go defensive here? No, Ash is going to come into the pit lane. He is committing to the 2-stop. Meanwhile, Anna McShame's now on the inside of DZ Racer into turn 1. DZ Racer keeps it ahead but locks up, going straight on. James now on the outside as DZ Racer keeps it ahead through turn 2. But the Ferrari now back on the rear of DZ Racer, exiting turn 3. But DZ Racer going to keep it ahead as Ash now fully into the box. We go down the order as a little bit of battles here. Ansu in behind Billion, bumping the rear of the Haas driver as he could damage his Ansu. And left end plate gone for Ansu, just too heavy on the brakes, into the rear of the Haas of Billion Penguin as Billion now on the inside of Zampa. And this is an old SSR battle as in the background is Raheem gone. Raheem spins at turn 8 on heartbreak for Raheem. Although who I'll say it's not heartbreaking for is Northey having his best race in WHF so far. And Raheem now down to P8 as Nuki on the rear of Sci-Fi Mega Hype. Creamy Flaps up in P9, but Northey literally having his best race of the season so far. If Northey can extend and do the 1-stop, Northey could be in for a very strong result here. As down the order we have Ash and Ellis battling here through turn 11, and Ash certainly going to get through on Ellis. Never mind, Ellis is keeping a nose in, battling with his teammate, and Ash round the outside, surely going to get out of his teammate, and he does, although these two are just reserving for this evening. As up at the front here, what do we have? Raheem into the box, he hits a 10-second speed in the pit lane penalty, and Raheem's woes in the second half of the season have come thick and fast here. Meanwhile, DZ Racer on the rear of Few momentarily, but maybe checked up into the rear and lost some time. But we're still following Few here. As Creamy Flaps on the rear of Nuki Lad. And if DZ Racer can hold on while doing the 1-stop, he could be in for a very good position here. As Creamy Flaps now on the rear of Nuki Lad. And trying to put pressure on the Alpine driver, who did win in Brazil not too long ago, down in P6 now, battling with Creamy Flaps, and Creamy Flaps now into turn 11, dives on the inside of the Alpine, and a lovely move from Creamy Flaps up into P6. This would be his best finish in WHF, but Nuki still there, battling with Creamy Flaps, and Creamy Flaps gets ahead of Nuki. And Nuki gonna have to be patient and wait to maybe get the exit out of the final corner with DRS to get ahead. As D Summer says, lap 10 earliest estimate for a 1-stop. I'd say that's too early, honestly. You kind of want to be going to lap 12. As we do see Northey coming in. Northey, stay out a bit longer, but maybe, I mean, at the same time though, Bahrain is a high deck circuit, so you don't want to wear your mediums too much, otherwise you could be in puncture territory. As Nuki now down the inside of Creamy Flaps as he looks for a switchback, and side by side we go through turn 2, and Nuki keeps it ahead of Creamy Flaps. Dubo wants to get involved in this battle as well, and it has been very ferocious here. Creamy Flaps back through on the inside of turn 4 on Nuki. Nuki looking for the switchback on the Aston Martin driver, but Creamy Flaps having an absolutely fantastic race out there up into P5 now. We'll see where he shakes out after all of the pit stops, but having a really strong drive out there as Ashton on getting ahead of Ansu, but with a 3-second time penalty to boot as well. So it may have been a slight illegal overtake as Ansu makes a big mistake. Ash now on the outside, going to try and get through on the Red Bull, and Ansu just lets him through as Ash into P12 now. Ash committing to the 2 stops, so we'll keep an eye on his progress, where he ends up. Dobo now putting pressure on Nuki. The hard tyres have really hit their stride now here on lap 10. Mediums are in just surviving territory. And Creamy Flaps now, can he pull a gap to Nuki, lad? This is very strong performance from Creamy Flaps. Having his best race so far, trying to now pull a gap to Nuki, lad, to drop him at a DRS range, but Nuki, lad, just about inside the gap as DZ Racer now all over the rear of Few, and DZ Racer having a very strong race as well. If he commits to the 1-stop folly, which he has done now, and if Few and NMX James battle too hard, then DZ Racer could be in for his second win here in Tier 2 as Nuki and Dobo battle side by side. Nuki goes deep, leaving space for Dobo, and around the outside goes the Red Bull driver, and a lovely move out of turn 2 and out of turn 3. Gets ahead as Nuki now back around the outside, and side by side they're going to go through turn 4. And can Dobo get ahead? Nuki still side by side here. And Dobo has to concede there as Nuki gets ahead. It's a yellow flag. What's happened there? It's Sci-Fi and Raheem. Raheem leaving the track at turn 1. He's damage on the front left end plate. Sci-Fi involved. Not quite sure what's happened with the Alpine driver there, as Thori now has joined this battle between Dobo and Nuki, lad. Creamy Flaps, Billion in this battle as well. Zampa trying to catch this pack as well. But here on lap 11 is DZ Racer still inside DRS range. Yellow flag out, I believe, for Ansu there as DZ Racer now may have lost DRS. He went very late on the brakes there, maybe to just about get into the zone. Does he have it? We will see. And he has no DRS, so surely James going to finally get ahead of the V-Carb driver. DZ Racer just lets him go. But if I were DZ Racer, I would not panic too much as he almost sends it on the inside of the Ferrari. If I were him, I'd not panic too much because he's still doing well on his strategy. Now is the pit lap, unless he wants to extend maybe a lap more. But if I were him, he's doing very well. Just needs to do his own strategy. He is in his own little gap here because NMX James and Few will look to battle each other on that hard medium stint. We'll keep an eye on them as Thori now through on Dobo on the outside. And down into turn 4, Thori up to P7 now as Dobo sends it back down the inside of Thori. Side by side they go. Billion's got a great view of this battle. Thori losing the rear as Dobo gets through into P7, exiting turn 4. And as they battle through the middle sector, can Billion shape for a move on Thori? Has a little look on the inside, but too late to go for the move. As Dobo putting pressure on Nuki here. Nuki still claiming DRS from Creamy Flaps, but has been struggling here. Thori on the outside of Billion, out of turn 10. How is that even possible? I'm not quite sure. NMX James now, is he out of DRS range from Few? It's so marginal. Does he have it? Does he not? DZ Racer now 2 seconds back. Is going to have to box this lap surely. And NMX James just about has the DRS, and this is key for the battle for the lead as DZ Racer comes into the box. MB follows him in. Surely Creamy Flaps and Nuki going to follow him in as well. As NMX James now firmly inside DRS range from the Aston Martin. This battle from last week where they were battling for the win, the whole race was James and Few. And Few, during the pit stop phase, was able to pull a gap. Could he do the same here? As Creamy Flap stays out an additional lap. Is that going to hurt his chances here? We will see as Billion on the rear of Thori. And Thori was very deep over that inside curb. As Billion now trying to put pressure. DZ Racer exits ahead of Zampa. But does have a little bit of traffic to navigate here. As down the order we look. Nuki lad exiting behind Sci-Fi Mega Hype. Nuki battling with Ellis here, who still needs to pit. DZ Racer gets out of Billion. And Billion struggling on these really worn mediums. Thori out there on worn mediums as well, along with Creamy Flaps and Thori. Meanwhile, in the background, Ash on the outside of Zampa, putting pressure on the Haas, and damage for Ash. Trying this two-stop strategy now, and that's going to hurt him massively. Is that mistake from Ash. Meanwhile, DZ Racer is going to be hoping that the medium runners ahead of him just get out of the way, and all he needs to worry about then is Dobo up ahead to dispatch before he'll have loads of clear air to use to challenge the current hard runners who lead the field between James and Few. But we'll keep an eye on DZ Racer. Do the medium runners ahead of him finally box? If I were them, this is absolutely the lap to box onto hards. They've extended the maximum that they can. Creamy Flaps is going another lap. Yellow flag out. Who's that involved? Maybe, I'm not even quite sure now. Maybe Raheem again. Billion with a 10-second speeding in the pit lane penalty. As, on the rear. Sci-Fi on the rear of Ellis here. I'm not even quite sure who was involved in that earlier contact. Maybe Raheem down the order, having another nightmare weekend. Is Raheem. Might have to box again to fix that front wing. Is Zampa and Ash. Battle here through turn 4. Ash has got the better tyres as Zampa has a little wobble and ghosts as a result. It's a bit strange. Meanwhile, DZ Racer on the hard tyres. He's just going to baby them into the right window. As Thory down the order. Thory's had a mistake out of turn 3. Maybe contact with another driver. We'll have to see what the stewards say after the race. Otherwise, it may have been a potential mistake there. Meanwhile, Zampa back on the rear of Ash. Ash dealing with that damage after contact with Zampa. Nuki through on Ellis through turn 8. Side by side, they go up to turn 10. Ellis still on the inside. Gonna have to back out here, surely, on those older mediums. And if I were Ellis, I would box onto hards to the end here, if that were in the cards, as DZ Racer down the rear of Dobo, and he's going to look to the dispatch of the Red Bull as early as possible, as Creamy Flaps now has to come in for hard tyres, one would think. Has to. Please, come in for hards. What are we doing, chat? What are we doing? DZ Racer now ahead of Dobo. Creamy Flaps is extending. I don't know why at this point. His mediums are certainly dead in the water. He needs to go on a set of hards. If I see him touch the softs, I'm going to start absolutely crying on screen. As MB now all over the rear of Zampa, around the outside now the Haas driver, and MB up into P7 there. Zampa on these older hards may look to box in a couple laps time. Meanwhile, Ellis finally in for what should be his final pit stop, as DZ Racer now on the rear of Creamy Flaps. NMX James still holding onto the rear of Few here. As Creamy Flaps now holding up DZ Racer, which is going to hurt his race. And he's got to get ahead of the Aston Martin driver as soon as possible. But just doesn't seem to have the straight line speed to get ahead of the Aston Martin driver. But through turn 11, can he get the grip on the inside? Yes, he does. And DZ Racer now through into P3. But that, him getting held up by the traffic is going to hurt him here. As NMX James now on the rear of Few, as they battle through turn 1. And where can they shape up here? Meanwhile, MB battling with Ash on the rear. NMX James now back on the rear of Few down into turn 4, not close enough to make a move. MB now, Creamy Flaps finally into the box. Please do not spin the pit lane. He's spinning the pit lane. How'd I know he was gonna? Creamy Flaps on what is his best race this season gets a 10-second penalty. And that could be heartbreaking and cost him vital positions. Which he was having such a strong race, and that 10-second could really undo a lot of his hard work. As Nuki lad now in the rear of Sci-Fi Mega Hype. And Creamy Flaps now will exit very far down the order, as Ash and MB still battle through turn 4. And Northy exiting ahead of Creamy Flaps. MB getting through on Ash. Finally, Ash keeping a nose in as he has a little bit of contact with MB. MB has to back out here. As down the order we go. Creamy Flaps now down in P at 12. On much better hards though, so could be able to cut his way through the field. But the issue is the 10-second time penalty is going to cost him a heap of positions as well. I don't know if he should have boxed a couple laps earlier. Also, the 10-second time penalty for speeding the pit lane as well. Absolutely heartbreaking. As D Summer says, pit stop time around 20 seconds, right? I think it's a little bigger. As NMX James on the rear of Few down into turn 1. Are we going to have a change for the lead? James now into the lead for the first time this race. Gets out of Few here on lap 17. And could they be thinking about pit stops very shortly, as the Aston Martin driver does not have DRS now. James into the lead of the race, as DZ Racer sets the fastest lap here. MB now on the rear of Ash. DRS enabled for the McLaren driver. And down the inside of Ash, can MB go? Yes, he does. And can MB now disappear down the road on the much better tyres? MB here could potentially be battling for a podium if he can catch the likes of DZ Racer, as Ash unable to get ahead. Meanwhile, Few and James battling is going to be to the delight of DZ Racer. He wants them to battle as much as possible. But Few here involved in the battle with the Ferrari. These two having an absolute barn burner. And lap 17 is possibly the earliest lap you want to box. If I were them, I would wait till lap 19 earliest, because I find if you do a hard medium, the mediums in that second stint are always awful, so you want to extend so you get the most life out of the mediums. I feel like if you try and do 12 laps in the mediums here, they will struggle big time. Meanwhile, Few back on the rear of NMX James, and I think they're listening to me, because they are extending a little bit, as give me a sec, it's a 3-second time penalty. Few on the rear of NMX James as he keeps the move, or keeps the position through turn 1. Few on the rear now as we head up to turn 4. Can Few get on the inside of NMX James? Side by side they go into turn 4. And the Aston Martin driver around the outside. James has a little bit of contact, wheel banging between the two. And Few going to keep ahead. It seemed like James just turned in a little bit too sharply there, as MB keeping it at Dobo. Ash looking on the inside of Dobo. Dobo out there on really old hards. I think Dobo got to think about boxing in onto mediums. Maybe even Ash think about that as well, because of his damage. As Ash now on the inside of Dobo into the box. Kim Zampa and Ash gets through on Dobo. Picture perfect move as Dobo into the rear, slightly cooking his rears very slightly, as Zampa going to exit just ahead of Ansu here, as Billion now on the rear of Crimmy Flaps and gonna get ahead of the Aston Martin driver. And the Aston does not want to be in this battle, because he's on the better tyres, but is he able to use them in clear air? That's the question. Is Sci-Fi now on the rear of Nuki Lad. Meanwhile, James back on the rear of Few as we head through the final corner. When are the leaders going to box here? That's the question. Is anyone going to box this lap? Few going to come in. NMX James going to follow him in. And NMX James very cautious into the box. We'll keep an eye on DZ Racer where he exits. He's done 5 laps on the hards. NMX James and Few, I think, have done the right thing by extending a little bit longer on the hards. Now 10 laps on the mediums to go. Where do they exit? Where does DZ Racer? How much of a gap does he have? Can NMX James exit the box close enough to Few? DZ Racer takes the lead of the race here, as Few now on the mediums. Is the Ferrari of NMX James close enough to Few here to stay inside DRS range? Was he too cautious into the pit lane? He's outside DRS here, but does he have the pace exiting the box here? We will keep an eye on this battle as Ashton battling with Ellis. Ellis on the inside of Ashton. And Ellis has to back out here. Meanwhile, Crimmy Flaps back on the inside of Billy and Penguin. And you got to feel for Crimmy Flaps. That 10-second time penalty is going to cost him massively. He could get ahead of Raheem and Sci-Fi and maybe even Nuki at base, but the 10-second could drop him behind all of them. And there's a point in the race where Crimmy Flaps is up in P5. Meanwhile, Billion back down the inside here as we head through turn 4. They continue to battle here. And what has happened, Northey? Northey was P5 at a point in this race, and he's now down in P15. I can't believe what's happened when Northey is Billion through on Crimmy Flaps again. Meanwhile, James firmly out of DRS here, and I think what happened in Texas has happened again here. The pit stop phase has allowed Few to clear off down the road. James now 1.6 behind Few, and Few is but moments away from getting DRS from DZ Racer, and I think DZ Racer needs to defend like a lion in order to help out James. Otherwise, Few, if he gets out of DZ Racer, he can clear off down the road. I think DZ Racer is going to make life as tough for both of them as possible, because he wants them to wear out their mediums as quickly as possible, so that he's able to defend. Few with no DRS on this occasion, as Creamy Flaps gets through on Billy and Dobo now. Staying out as Ash has come in. That's very strange. Is Dobo going to try and do the full race on hards? That would be hilarious. Would love to see it. Few on the rear of DZ Racer, but not close enough to making a move. Will he be held up through the middle sector, and can that allow NMX James back inside DRS range here of Few? If I'm DZ Racer, I am absolutely parking the car through the middle sector here, going non-ERS, wasting Few's time. And exiting turn 10 now. Can Few get ahead of DZ Racer? As down into turn 11, Few pulls to the inside and gets ahead of DZ Racer here. And now DZ Racer on the 7-lap old hards. Can he still stay with the medium runners? As D Summers in the chat says, is Dobo pulling a scones in Zandvoort? If he does, I would be absolutely gobsmacked. As NMX James now inside DRS range from DZ Racer, so the battle for the lead continues on here on lap 20. It's a three-way fight for the lead. Possibly at the moment DZ Racer is in the worst position, but if DZ Racer can keep DRS range for the remainder of the race as time progresses, his hards will hit their stride. He just needs to manage for now. If he can keep inside the DRS range from Few, he may be able to do this, but if he falls out, then Few could have a win here. And NMX James also doesn't want to wait around too long behind DZ Racer. As DZ Racer now still inside DRS range, but is he going to struggle through the middle sector now on these older tyres as Dobo does come in for the mediums? NMX James now going to want to get ahead of DZ Racer as soon as possible, as he looks to be falling behind the DRS range. Goes deep at turn 8. Can that lose him DRS range? And I think it fully has. I think DZ Racer now, is he out? Or did he get back in again there through turn 10? We will see on board. He gets DRS, gets squirrely on the rear. Surely he's going to let through James. He does let him through. And James now is going to head after the Aston Martin driver. Meanwhile, Billion continuing to battle with Creamy Flaps as they've been really unable to catch the McLaren of Raheem or Saifa Mega up ahead as well. As Ash picks up another 3-second time penalty here. As Ellis getting through on Ansu out of turn 1. Ashton watching this battle as well. And Ansu losing the rear here. As Ashton on the outside. Battling with the Red Bull. Side by side we go. Through turn 4. Few sets the fastest lap. DZ Racer on the rear of NMX James. Does he have DRS? I don't know if he did, but Few definitely has pulled the gap to NMX James, and this is similar to what happened in Texas. As, that seemed to be a late move from Creamy Flaps, as Billion going to get round the outside of the Aston. As the Aston still looks to play some games here. Oh, and a big snap of the rear from Creamy Flaps here. He's really struggling on this hard stint. Surprising to see. Normally the hards are so strong here in Bahrain, as he's going to pick the outside of Billion. And Creamy Flaps now back into P8. But these two have been losing heaps of time trying to catch Sci-Fi and Raheem while battling with each other. And Billion off the track, losing the rear, lost downforce. Exiting turn 1, and he's lost out to Smoke and Ash and Thori. And I think that's given Creamy Flaps the gap that he needed now, as Ashton swaps with Ellis through the final corner. Ansu on the rear of this battle as well, going to try and get involved as we head through the main straight. Ellis on the rear of Ashton, and Ansu on the rear of Ellis. Goes for a late send. Side by side we go on Ledgeman. Ansu round the inside. Oh, big contact between Ledgeman and Ansu. And Ansu going to keep ahead of Ledgeman. Goes defensive to the inside. That opens the door to Gimme a Sec. And Gimme a Sec round the outside of Ledgeman. Big contact again with Ledgeman. And Ansu struggling here up ahead as Give Me a Second to try and get round the outside of Ansu, and does get through. Does the debutant here today. Meanwhile, Billion on the rear of Thory. A reminder for those of you who are unaware is Ellis getting through on Ansu through turn 10. They battle into turn 10. Ellis round the outside, going to get a move here as Give Me a Sec leaves the track up ahead. But for those who finish inside the top 16, they all score points. So the top 16 here in WHF get points as Ansu through on the inside, and Ellis as Ellis keeps it ahead as Ash gets out of Creamy Flaps now. Oh, Ash doing the 2-stop here. Still out there with his damage though, so that may cost him some time, but on the fresher hards should be able to make some progress. And Billion again, another spin out of turn 1. And Billion now down to P13, and another struggle race for Billion Penguin. Zampa into P12. And Thory now on the rear of this train, led by Raheem. Sci-Fi involved. Ash going to look to make his way through on Sci-Fi Mega Hype on the much fresher hard tyres. And Creamy Flaps now also on the rear of Ash as well. Ash now going to get through on Sci-Fi down into turn 11. And through goes Ash as Creamy Flaps now also going to look on the rear of Sci-Fi Mega Hype. And as we're here on lap 24 of 29, James unable to catch few as of yet. DZ Racer hasn't been able to stay with the leaders, but as time progresses, DZ Racer may be able to come back at the medium runners. As Thory on the rear, Creamy Flaps. Can Thory get ahead of the Aston Martin drivers? He gets a lovely run into the final corner now. And Thory into P9 as Creamy Flaps now drag race with the V-Carb. And Creamy Flaps going to get ahead. But can he look for the sand? As Thory going to dive bomb Creamy Flaps down into turn 1. And Creamy Flaps going to keep it ahead now through turn 2. As Dobo watching this battle. Thory around the outside of turn 3. Can he get back ahead of the Aston? As the Aston's still going side by side as we head through turn 4. And Creamy Flaps ahead, but Thory looking for the switchback, the up and under on the Aston. Can the Aston keep it there as Thory through the middle sector? A lovely move from Thory as Ash gets through on Raheem up ahead. And Ash now trying to climb to P6 here as a little bit of contact as Northie's gone for inters. And Creamy Flaps has dropped down the order. What's happened? Creamy Flaps falls behind Thory and Dobo. And maybe a mistake from Creamy Flaps there. And Northie out onto the inters. Not quite sure what he is thinking. As Dobo now back down the inside of Thory. We've had absolute massive battles throughout this race. Is it raining? No way. It's raining in Bahrain. Both Williams have gone for inters. It's far too early. Why is there rain in Bahrain? This isn't tier 2. This is not tier 2. Why is the rain here? What is going on? Raheem and Sci-Fi in. Creamy Flaps in. What is everyone doing? It's not even wet yet. Oh my lord, this is going to be some finish to the race. If the track does get wet, does James come in? Does Few come in? Does DZ Racer come in? What is going to happen? I mean, Northie being on the inters, it's still too early for the inters. The track is not wet at all. But saying that, when will it be wet? Here on lap 25 of 29, James still trying to catch Few as the rain comes down. DZ Racer not looking to pit, but who is going to pit? Sci-Fi as the leaders out of the inter runners. It's still not wet enough there for the inters. You can visibly see, if we look at Sci-Fi's delta to Billion, you'll see it is somewhat evens. Is Sci-Fi catching Billion now? I can't quite tell. It is, the delta is staying very evens. I think we're somewhat level here. And the track is progressively getting more damp and more damp. Does James go for the risk on the inters? Does DZ Racer go for the inter risk? We're only going to have 3 laps of racing whenever they do box. If they do box. And give me a sec, getting out of Crimmy Flaps. Are the hard tyres still outperforming? Yes, Sci-Fi's lost a second to Billion here. So I do believe the dries are still the way to go. I think it is still dry. But is any of the leaders going to go for the risk? On to inters, we will see. It still looks too dry out there. But there's rain in Bahrain. Only in WHF do you see this absolute chaos. Does anyone box? Doesn't seem like it. Everyone's still staying out in that lead pack. The track does not seem to be wet enough. The rain is coming down, but the track surface still looks very, very dry out there. Sci-Fi not really gaining on Billion like you would have hoped. With 3 laps to go now. Will anyone on inters make any inroads? Crimmy Flaps now down in P15. As well as Ream down in P13. Ellis looking to secure P16 here. Final points of the day. But this has been a very chaotic race here. Rain in Bahrain. And Few is going to get DRS off the Mercedes ahead. As I believe that's Ellis. Yes. Ahead of James, and that DRS is going to help him a little bit here. As DZ Racer on the rear of James here. We're about to start the penultimate lap. Have not seen anyone come in. If I were them, I would not come in. Because the track just does not look wet at all, really. The rain is very light. And also, I just don't think they would gain the time lost back again. So we'll have to wait and see. Few stays out. James is going to look to stay out as well. DZ Racer looks like he's going to stay out as well. Does anyone else go for the risk? I think the opportunity has gone. As Ash is going to try and catch Nuki Lad here. Billion spattling with Zampa. Zampa's made a mistake out of turn 10. And that's allowed Billion up into P9. And those mediums seem to be struggling now on the increasingly wet conditions here in Bahrain. As Ash now on the rear of Nuki Lad. But these penalties may cost Ash here, as he will try to get ahead of Nuki Lad. But even if he does get ahead, the penalties could help Nuki Lad hold on to the position. Meanwhile, Ash, DRS enabled now, going to pick the outside of the Alpine. And getting ahead now. As Nuki tries to stay with the Mercedes, but no move on there. And Ash now going to try and pull the gap to get P5 here. Pull that penalty gap that he currently has. Meanwhile, James about to start the final lap in behind Few. Few looking for back-to-back wins here in Bahrain. As the rain comes down in the final couple laps, it just doesn't look like the rain's coming down quickly enough. And as we start the final lap here, it looks like things are going to end as is. Doesn't seem like any drivers really close to each other. Looks like the penalty margins are the ones to watch out for. We'll leave it a mystery until the end here, as James now catching Few ever so slightly and picks up a 3-second time penalty. That's an uncharacteristic penalty from the Ferrari driver, but he was getting desperate in behind Few. He wanted to catch the Aston and just took too much risk there. But he will not drop behind DZ Racer because he does have the gap. But a penalty for our Tier 3 champion here. As James in behind DZ Racer trying to get a move, but just too far back at this stage. It looks like Few has this one. And any other battles here? We got Creamy Flaps now on the rear of Gimme a Sec. Dive bombs him. And side by side we go between Gimme a Sec and Creamy Flaps. James watching that battle along as well. As these two will battle to the line. We'll keep an eye on their battle as they head through turn 13. But we're going to go on board with Few, who won last time out in Kota for the first time in WHF. And as he rounds the final corner, Few, for the second time this season, will win here in Tier 3. He takes the checkered flag and wins in Bahrain, in a wet Bahrain nonetheless. Very, very dramatic scenes here as Creamy Flaps finishes in behind Raheem and Ellis and Gimme a Sec as Northey gets P16, so Northey gets into the points. Ansu into P18, Page P19, and B into P4, Ash P5, but Nuki Lad will jump him because of penalties as we round the final corner here. Nuki ahead of Ash. And Nuki into P5. Dobo, will he even jump Ash? Not too far behind. Next it's Thori, followed by Billy and Penguin, and then Zampa. As there's a bit of a graveyard at the final line of a Red Bull there, as Billy may lose out to Zampa here potentially with that 10-second time penalty. Meanwhile, Sci-Fi, the highest finisher who went on to the Inters. The Inters didn't turn out being the tyre here in Bahrain, but the track just wasn't wet enough. It still doesn't really look wet enough here on the final lap. You would need the track to get a lot wetter here. As Sci-Fi in P11. As Ash in P12. Raheem in P13. Oh, actually jumps him in the P12. And as Few will celebrate on the top step of the podium. It's a great time to ask. Few, you won last time in Kota. You win again here in Bahrain, and a wet Bahrain, which came as a shock to us here in the commentary box. But how fun was that race?
Yeah, it was good. It was a nice race. Nice and easy. No dramas. A little bit of contact with James, but yeah, nothing major, no damage or anything. So yeah, good race. I enjoyed it.
We did see last time out during the pit stop phase, you were able to gap James, and it seemed like the same scenario rolled around again here in Bahrain. Was that your thinking, that once you were going to go in the pit, you were going to push as hard as possible and push out as well?
Absolutely, yeah. Literally, for the first couple of laps, I just put my foot down. I just needed to get him out of DRS, and luckily I came quite far ahead of him out of the pit, so it was just about keeping him out of DRS at the end.
Yeah, that was a very strong performance. And also, whenever the rain hit, did you expect it to be coming, or...?
I seen it on the forecast. I knew it was coming right at the end, but it didn't really affect anything, to be honest. I'm not sure why people put inters on.
Yeah, it did seem to be a very surprising. I'm not quite sure why so many people went in whenever the track did seem very dry. But nonetheless, it's another win for yourself, Few. And as we head into the final round, I'm trying to remember where we are in Tier 3. Qatar. Could Qatar be one of your favourites?
Yep, definitely is. Another one of my strongest rocks. So that should be a walk in the park, to be honest. Well,
we're looking forward to that, and hopefully another win for you in Qatar. We're looking forward to seeing it. As we'll
fingers crossed.
Move on to interview James next. James, you fought well there, but P2 only in the end. How'd that race go for you, James?
To be honest, it wasn't too bad. I had to try and keep DRS with these racers. I kept losing it a few times, but eventually came back in it. Then when the pits happened, I kind of fucked it up, so I just decided to keep P2 and just keep going. I knew I wouldn't catch few anyways, so I decided I'd keep P2.
Well, I'm sure you won't matter I'm sure you won't mind too much because you still are the Tier 3 champion as of last time out. So I'm sure you'll be happy enough giving up wins for the rest of the season.
Yeah, just constructors now is the one I'm looking for.
And as you've mentioned that, we'll have a look. Let me see here. I hate how, for some reason, it keeps recording you as a complete different driver who isn't in the server anymore. The app is just a bit not smart. Right, let's quickly try and work out who is where in the constructors. Because Ferrari may have done it. I don't think so. I don't believe so. I think there's still more to go. Mercedes still clinging on to P2 in the championship. The gap is at 56 points. And I think mathematically Mercedes can still catch by the end, although Ferrari are not too far away from actually winning the constructors in the finale. Actually, what is the math? 27 and 22. Let me do some quick math here. You actually might have done it. 27 and 22. Oh, you have done it. Never mind. I'm bad at math. Ferrari are constructor champions, everyone. Hooray!
Well, those 2 champions in the bag, so I'll take it.
Yeah, a driver's championship for yourself, James, and you and your teammate RJ. Even though RJ didn't have the ideal race, I'm sure he'll be happy whenever he realizes, oh wait, he's constructor champion. If you missed what happened with RJ, he went into the box in lap 1, and as Ferrari do, he pit on the intermediates. So he decided to call it a day. So, but nonetheless, I'm sure he'll be happy finding out that he's won the constructors here before the final round. But congrats on the P2 anyway, James. We'll head on to DZ Racer P3. We're doing the medium hard. It was going well, but in the end, just it seemed few and James had too much pace in the end. But how did that race go for you, DZ Racer?
It was a bit disappointed, but it's okay. I'm happy with the pace since I didn't spin or I didn't a lot of fault, but the guys were very strong.
Did you believe the medium hard would be the quicker strategy, or what was your thinking for the strategy?
The strategy, I don't know, but it seems it was the best strategy.
But nonetheless, congrats on your another podium for yourself, DZ Racer. You weren't able to convert from pole, but at least this time you're on the podium and not spinning around somewhere like myself very much is this season. But thank you for that, DZ Racer. And we'll move on to who's next. We'll move on to Thorsten. Thorsten, how'd your race go?
Keep it clean on the first lap, and have a clean race. Only broken part of my front wing. So the last stint on the hard was really hard for me to keep it up with the guys in front of me. And I was few in front of me, the Red Bull. It was desyncing all over the road, so I could not pass him on the straights because he was moving around. So, but it was fun.
Well, glad you had a good race there, Thorsten, and we'll move on to Alice, who finished in P15. I seen there Northy sent a message in saying he's not angry, but he's disappointed. What happened between you and Northy, if something did happen?
Me?
Yes.
So coming into in sector 3, if I just get up that turn. Turn 13, so I decided that I was going to race this track a couple hours ago, so I didn't really get a chance to do practice here, which meant I didn't really know the braking point, so I broke about 25 metres too early, and he rear-ended me and spun. It was my bad there. I just didn't get the chance to do enough practice here. Didn't know the braking points that well. Even later on in the race, I was just struggling the whole time. So that is the reason he's annoyed at me, although in the end I ended up getting him because he pitted onto the inters.
Well, in the end, you still got 2 points. But I must say, my main question for you, Ledgeman, is at the start of the season, you said to me that you wanted to be tier 2. And after getting lapped in tier 3, my question is, why did you want to be tier 2?
Because originally, the people that are in tier 2, I felt like I was faster than some of them, and then everyone I feel like has just really stepped up their game. And we've got some old tier 1 guys that came down, and it is just so much more worse. I actually thought that I was getting slower. Weirdly, I'm faster than last season on pretty much every track, and I've actually got more points than last season.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like everyone else has stepped up their game a lot more.
Well, I will say, Ledgeman, I'm looking forward to you in tier 3 next season. With me, we can have all our battles next season, because we've both had absolute stinkers this year. But congrats on getting points here, and hopefully next week we can see you do better, and even tomorrow in tier 2 we can see you do better in P15 as well.
Yeah, 100% one of my worst tracks here, just off the pace the entire time. But I made it work with some of my racecraft when I was battling. But yeah, hopefully tomorrow and next week get better.
But anyway, I think that's a good place to round it off. James last time out won the championship in Texas, and this time out Ferrari have sealed the constructors ahead of the finale in Qatar, with James and RJ being crowned constructor champions here in round 11. But thank you all for watching. If you have enjoyed, please drop a follow. We are not far away from 1,000 followers on Twitch, so if you haven't followed yet, please do. Also, we're going to raid Carl Pernick on our way out. Make sure to give Carl a follow on your way out. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I've been WHF Arrow, and we'll see you all tomorrow for Tier 2 Monza. Well, you'll be joined by Rio Harris. But anyway, thank you all for watching, and goodbye.